we kind of hit everything coming into the game with our preview of what could concern us, because we held Fant in check for the most part the whole game. But then there was one drive where he was cooking Bush a little bit. I know he had something on Minka.
This is the thing with Fant. The game plan prior to Drew Lock getting injured would have been them featuring him. Because Drew got hurt when he did, Driscoll just didn't look like he was trying to feature Fant the way that Locke features him on tape. And it looked like it took to the fourth quarter for Driscoll to realize, oh, I got a weapon here. If I just throw him the ball, we're going to be fine.
So did he have more opportunities than we think? Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Multiple opportunities. But the thing was, the rush mitigated some of it. It was times where he was open. The rush didn't allow Driscoll to see him. And then it was times where Driscoll was just looking other places. Whereas like with Locke, when you watch Locke on tape, Fant was his first option every time. He looks Fant first, and then from there he would go Judy, he would go Sutton, and go down the list of guys. Whereas with Driscoll didn't lock in on Fant until late in the fourth quarter, and then when he did, you saw the success that he was able to have. So that was the only thing with that. That was one of the matches we talked about going into the game, and Fant is as good as advertised. And I felt like if they would have featured him more, could have been a little bit different. But that's some of the stuff that the linebackers are definitely going to have to improve upon. Like you said, it wasn't just Devin. Minka had some of that as well, man.
Yeah.
Fant is a good tight end. It's the reason why he was a first round draft pick, man. It's the reason why they love him in Denver. He's a good player, and he's going to continue to grow and get even better. It's just one of the matchups, man. It's one of those matchups.
Yeah, and then all the receivers, including Fant, they all had over 40 yards.
They had a ton of drops though too, man.
Yeah, they did. So it was like one of those things where they burned us here or there on some plays, but there was nothing that you felt like, oh wow, they're completely dominating us, receivers versus cornerback, or receivers versus secondary.
But I do think a lot of that was due to the drops though.
Yeah.
Like prime example, 30 seconds left in the half, second quarter, 30 seconds left. It hits KJ in the chest. I think it was Steven Olsen jumps with him. I forgot who was next to him. But when you slow it down, it hits him in the chest. If he catches that...
It was that bomb, right?
Yeah, on the right side of the field. If he catches that, he's on the 5-yard line. It's a totally different conversation. We talked about Judy and his drops throughout the game.
Yeah, he had a couple,
Judy,
right?
Hamler, Sutton, all those guys had drops in the game. And all their drops, especially the downfield ones, you're like, whoo. For me, that change, if those are completions, I think we're having a totally different conversation here about how we view the secondary right now. But because they were drops, you know how it is. It looks as it's incompletion.
That's the thing.
The yards don't give up. We're good to go. We talk about it in a very, very high and exciting manner.
I know you're hitting this point because I just kind of blocked them out. I'm not really recognizing it at all.
Like what I've seen from our secondary, the first two games, a lot of miscommunication on the back end. The touchdown to Noah Fant, the 7 route that he caught on Devin that everybody saw, it's miscommunication. It was a couple of those bunch routes. When we're talking about bunch formations, anytime you're getting 2 and 3 guys together in close proximity, that's a bunch route. That's a bunch concept from a formation standpoint, and they have certain routes out of it, and it puts a strain on the defense. It makes you have to say, okay, well, if we're in cover 3, how are we playing this? If we're in cover 4, how are we playing this? If it's man, how are we playing this? Each coverage has a different way that you're playing it. And right now, I feel like this is a product of no preseason as well. You can just see they're not as clean and crisp on the communication element of it. That's the biggest thing that I'm taking away from our secondary right now. But at the same time, I do feel like they are making the plays that are available. Joe Hayden in the interception. That was off of what?
That's a drop. It was a drop. That was right in his hands.
It was off of a drop, but he capitalized on the opportunity. Anytime the ball has been around, how many times have we seen the
Mike
Steelers?
Hilton picking up the fumble.
Cam Hayward, first game when Bud forces the tip pass. We're seeing those balls aren't falling harmlessly to the ground on this defense. And that's the sign of a great defense. We would talk about that. You know,
I remember 4 or 5 years ago, we get pissed at that because some players in the secondary would drop it. And it's like, as much as you want to say, all right, these guys are on defense.
No, yeah.
And that could cost you a game, you know?
In prime example, number 23 for Denver. He drops the interception, and then look at how the rest of the game goes where they just attack him after that. It's multiple times where a guy's in position to make
I think we scored on that drive. Is that the corner touchdown?
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, but when you're on defense and you have opportunity to create a turnover, 9 times out of 10, if you miss that opportunity, typically the next play, the next drive, they're coming and they're hitting that play. They're scoring on it. And that's the signs of bad defenses. Whereas right now, anytime the ball has been around, whether it's on the ground or tipped into the air, the Steelers defense is finding ways to come up with it. And that's the beauty of it. That's why I still sit here and I'm encouraged, because I'm like, they're going to get the communication fixed. That's just, like I said, no preseason. It's going to take some time to get that fixed.
Well, that was something I wanted to ask you. You think it's just that, as opposed to our guys might have lost a step? Or we're not the same from last year? You think it's just more communication then?
No, I mean, you can look on the tape. If guys were just, okay, he has a man-to-man and he's cooking them, that's one thing. But what I'm saying is, okay, these guys, I just knowing the defense, I know these three guys are working together. I see pre-snap talking, and then post-snap, I don't see the communication. And then at the end of the play, I see this guy looking at that guy and their hands are going back and forth. That's telling me that is communication. And that's why I said I'm encouraged. I'd rather be communication and technique, because from a technique standpoint, the 2-point conversion by Devin that Noah Fant got on Devin Bush, for example, that's not personnel. You don't think Devin is fast enough to run with Noah Fant across the field? No, that's a technique thing in terms of Devin. You already have inside leverage. Shuffle, stay square, roll with it, or create contact. You're within the 5 yards. Once he's dragging across like that, get two hands on him. It's a lot easier to cover him with your hands on him underneath, especially with the rush coming. But what does Devin do? Devin hops back for a second and allows Noah to have a clean release across his face. Now he's in a chase technique, very similar to what we talked about with the Giants guy against Juju, going across him and we say go behind or go in front. And he let him cross his face. Now he's chasing. Exact same scenario. Well, with football, man, it's very simple, but you have to do those routine things right every time. Otherwise, you're going to get beat like that. And that's the only thing that happened on the 2-point conversion. That's just one of those plays. That's fixable, though. That's not him losing a step. That's not him not being able to cover Noah. That's just detail your work a little bit more technique. And like I said, with some of the plays that I was seeing downfield, it was very similar stuff. It's like, all right, you play this right with the technique, man. You get hands on him early, that changes that whole route. If this guy's aligned here pre-snap versus right there, it's simple. Of 2 yards, whether you're on the hash, inside the hash, outside the hash, it's simple. But all three of those landmarks means different things. If you're doing that every time, man, it's a totally different ball game. That's why I'm just like, this is more just lack of preseason equals this right here. It equals when it's gray areas from a coverage standpoint when you're working with somebody. That's what you can't account for in practice. Practice, the coach staff are going to give you X amount of plays. You've already watched these plays on tape, so you already know what to expect. In the game, they're going to have wrinkles. In the game, they're going to do something you didn't see on tape. What are our rules, though? What do we talk about throughout the week? What did we talk about last time this happened to us? They're learning out on the fly right now, but they'll be fine.